Imagine this, October 1962. For 13 absolutely terrifying days, nuclear war wasn't some abstract idea. It felt like it could happen any second.
Yeah, it's chilling to think about. It really was the closest the world has ever come to full-scale nuclear annihilation.
Uh-huh. The fate of, well, everyone kind of hung in the
It
balance.
truly did.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into that moment, the Cuban Missile Crisis, that incredibly dramatic showdown between the U.S. and the Soviet Union.
Right, over those Soviet missiles placed in Cuba, just, 90 miles off the coast of Florida.
Exactly. And our mission here is to sort of cut through the noise and pull out the key things you need to know, understand the decisions, the near misses, the factors that somehow, against all odds, pulled us back from the brink.
It's a shortcut to getting informed about how disaster was averted.
Picture it, though, a moment where the entire planet just held its breath. Everyone knew nuclear war wasn't just possible, it felt imminent.
That sheer intensity, those 13 days,
Yeah.
it's hard to overstate it. Two superpowers, eyeball to eyeball.
We know how it ended, thankfully. Disaster avoided.
Right. But the real mystery, the thing historians still unpack, isn't what happened, but how they navigated it. How did leaders handle that kind of, unprecedented pressure?
What were those critical moments, the secret talks, maybe? Hidden factors?
Exactly. What really turned the tide.
Yep.
It's like historical detective story, isn't it? You have to consider the psychology, the immense strain on Kennedy, on Khrushchev.
That fragile balance between total destruction and finding some kind of peace.
And people still debate the precise dynamics,
Yeah.
What really went on behind closed doors.
Okay, so to get how we even reached that point, we need the backstory, right? The Cold War context.
Absolutely. You've got the post-World War II world, the U.S. representing capitalist democracy.
And the Soviet Union, the communist dictatorship,
Yep.
fundamentally opposed ideologies.
Right, leading to this constant simmering tension. Both sides building these enormous nuclear arsenals.
A global power struggle, basically, playing out everywhere.
And then, bam, Cuba becomes this unexpected critical flashpoint.
Fidel Castro's revolution in '59.
Yeah, overthrowing Batista, who was very pro-American. Castro sets up a communist government, aligns with Moscow.
And suddenly, the enemy is right there, 90 miles away. That must have been a huge shock for the U.S.
A massive blow, ideologically and geographically.
So how did the U.S. respond initially? Not well, as I recall.
Not well is an understatement. 1961, the CIA backs the Bay of Pigs invasion. Cuban exiles trying to topple Castro.
And it was a complete disaster.
A total failure. Hugely embarrassing for the Kennedy administration. But more than that.
It pushed Castro even further towards the Soviets.
Precisely. It solidified his resolve, made him dig in his heels, and basically strengthened the exact relationship the U.S. wanted to prevent.
Okay, so that sets the stage for 1962, and this really bold move by Khrushchev.
Yeah, agreeing to Castro's request, let's put Soviet nuclear missiles in Cuba.
Why? What was the thinking there? Just protecting Cuba?
Well, that was part of it, certainly. After the Bay of Pigs, Castro was nervous. But for Khrushchev, it was much bigger.
A strategic power play.
Definitely. Missiles in Cuba could hit most of the U.S. mainland, including D.C., New York. It drastically shifted the nuclear balance.
And it showed Soviet strength supporting revolutions globally.
A direct challenge. And the way they did it, incredibly covert.
Yeah.
Secretly shipping missiles, warheads, all summer '62.
Under the radar.
Completely. Until October, when those American U-2 spy planes flew over.
Ah, the photos, the undeniable proof.
Undeniable evidence. Missile sites under construction. Imagine that landing on Kennedy's desk.
October 16th, the moment everything changed, you suddenly realize Soviet nukes are practically next door?
Yeah. Washington, New York, minutes away from potential annihilation. It wasn't theoretical anymore.
The strategic balance just flipped. Instantly.
So Kennedy, what does he do? He immediately pulls together this top-secret group. XCOM, they called it.
The Executive Committee of the National Security Council. Big names in there.
Right. McNamara at Defense, Rusk at State, Bundy as National Security Advisor, and they met almost constantly for those 13 days.
A pressure couple.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And deeply divided. You had the military chiefs pushing hard for airstrikes. Take out the sites now.
But others were arguing for diplomacy, trying to avoid escalation.
Exactly. A real clash of opinions right at the top about how to handle this unprecedented threat.
Then, October 22nd, Kennedy goes public.
He addresses the nation, reveals the missiles, says flat out the U.S. will not tolerate this.
And announces the naval blockade, calling it a quarantine.
A very deliberate choice of words, yeah. Trying to avoid it being seen as an act of war. The demand Soviets, remove the missiles.
Right.
Now.
The world just watches, waiting.
Those next few days were unbelievably tense.
Yeah.
Soviet ships steaming towards Cuba, U.S. Navy ships moving to intercept.
Would they challenge the quarantine? Would shots be fired?
Everyone was asking that.
Yeah.
October 24th was probably the peak. Soviet ships got right up to the blockade line.
Wow.
And then they stopped or turned it back.
A signal. Khrushchev blinking.
It seemed like it. A clear sign he wasn't ready for an immediate military clash over the blockade itself.
Okay, so maybe a slight sigh of relief, but the missiles are still there.
Exactly. Still being prepped. The core crisis wasn't resolved at all.
So behind the scenes, communication starts.
Desperate, secret communications kick off between Kennedy and Khrushchev. Both leaders trying to find some way out that wasn't, Armageddon.
You can feel the human drama there. Two men holding the world's fate.
And then, October 26th, a potential breakthrough. Khrushchev sends this long, quite emotional letter to Kennedy.
Offering a deal.
Basically, yes. We'll remove the missiles from Cuba if you promise not to invade Cuba. But there was more to it, wasn't there?
The Turkey missiles.
Implicitly, yes. It wasn't maybe front and center in that first letter, but the subtext was, you remove your Jupiter missiles from Turkey. This was crucial.
Why crucial?
It gave Khrushchev a way to save face. He could portray it as a mutual concession, not just him backing down. These kinds of quiet background deals are often key.
But then things got confusing again, didn't they, the next day?
Oh, completely chaotic.
Yeah.
October 27th, often called Black Saturday. Khrushchev sends a second letter.
And this one's different.
Much tougher. More public demands, including the Turkey missile swap, made explicit and formal.
Yeah.
It looked like the Soviets were hardening their position.
And then the U-2 plane gets shot down over Cuba.
Tragically, yes. The pilot, Major Anderson, killed. Suddenly, escalation seemed terrifyingly real. Many thought, this is it. War is unavoidable now.
So you've got these contradictory signals, immense danger. How are the leaders coping? Let's look at their perspectives.
Well, Kennedy, you can see this internal conflict. He had to get those missiles out. They couldn't become operational.
But negotiable.
Right. But he was also desperately trying to avoid nuclear war. That division we saw in XCOM, it reflected his own agonizing dilemma. Advisors yelling for war, others pleading for caution.
And Khrushchev, what explains the two letters, the back and forth?
Immense pressure. From his own military, from hardliners in the Kremlin. He's trying to de-escalate, but he also needs to achieve something, needs to look strong. It's a tightrope walk.
A single mistake could be fatal.
Absolutely. And this is where that other layer, the really secret stuff, comes in. The meeting between Robert Kennedy, the Attorney General.
The president's brother.
Yeah. And the Soviet ambassador Dobrynin. This wasn't public knowledge for a long time.
What happened in that meeting?
RFK basically laid it out how serious the U.S. was. The missiles must go.
Yeah.
But crucially, he also gave a subtle, deniable hint.
About the Turkey missiles.
Exactly. He indicated that while there couldn't be a public quid pro quo, the U.S. missiles in Turkey would likely be removed down the line anyway. They were practically obsolete.
So a quiet understanding, a back-channel solution.
Precisely. It gave Dobrynin something concrete but deniable to take back to Khrushchev. A vital diplomatic opening that wasn't shouted from the rooftops.
So, faced with the two letters, the shoot-down, the RFK channel, Kennedy makes a choice.
A brilliant one, in hindsight. He decides to publicly respond only to Khrushchev's first, more conciliatory letter.
He ignores the second, tougher one.
Effectively, yes. He deliberately chose the path that kept the door open for diplomacy. He gave Khrushchev the out offered in that first letter, despite all the pressure and provocations like the U-2 incident.
That took remarkable cool-headedness.
Incredible restraint and strategic thinking, focusing on the end goal, averting war.
And it works.
It did. October 28th, Khrushchev announces it publicly. The Soviet Union will dismantle the missile sites in Cuba and ship them home.
The world exhales.
A massive collective sigh of relief. It was seen as a huge win for diplomacy, for communication, for finding a negotiated way back from the absolute edge.
Both leaders ultimately showed that capacity for restraint when it mattered most.
A rare and vital example of de-escalation under truly existential pressure.
So what were the immediate consequences? How did this change the Cold War landscape?
Well, one very direct result was setting up the hotline.
The direct communication link between Washington and Moscow.
Exactly. So leaders could talk directly in a future crisis, hopefully avoiding the misunderstandings and delays that plagued the missile crisis communication. A simple, practical step born from near disaster.
And arms control. Did this scare them into action?
It certainly provided momentum. The Limited Test Ban Treaty was signed in 1963?
Banning nuclear tests in the atmosphere, underwater, and space?
Right. It was a first penitive step acknowledging the shared danger, a direct consequence of staring into the nuclear abyss during those 13 days.
What about Cuba? How did Castro take all this?
Oh, he was furious, absolutely livid with Khrushchev for making the deal to remove the missiles without even consulting him.
He felt betrayed, used.
Very much so. It actually led to a period of quite strained relations between Cuba and the Soviet Union. And ironically, it pushed Castro towards a more independent foreign policy path. He wasn't going to be just a Soviet pawn.
So looking back, what are the enduring lessons here? What does this historical event tell us today?
Well, the obvious one is the terrifying danger of nuclear weapons. It's a stark reminder. And flowing from that, the absolute necessity of arms control, disarmament efforts, dialogue.
And the importance of diplomacy, negotiation.
Critically important. But also, maybe less discussed, the sheer value of leadership capable of rational thought under unimaginable pressure. The ability to see past the immediate crisis to the long-term consequences.
Human choice really mattered.
It was decisive.
So the Cuban Missile Crisis, it's this vivid story, isn't it? Humanity showed its capacity for destruction, but also somehow the wisdom to pull back.
That's a great way to put it.
But the world is still full of weapons, tensions still exist. So the question for you, listening, is, what does this incredibly intense moment from history tell you about our responsibilities as leaders, as citizens, in keeping the peace today?
A crucial question to reflect on.
It really stands as this powerful testament, doesn't it? Decision-making under the gun and just the stark warning about where nuclear proliferation can lead.
A warning we should never forget.
We hope, thinking about these lessons, their relevance now has been valuable. If you found this deep dive into one of history's most critical moments insightful, please do subscribe to The Deep Dive.
We'll be back with more explorations into the knowledge that shapes our world.